knowledge proofs used to be very useful for like proving you know some kind of information and not actually disclosing it. But I think with zk rollups we've proven that you can use that same mechanism to actually save up on loads of verification and data transfers. So I can just tell you, hey, I mined a block and these are there are some transactions in it and everything is fine. Or here's my transaction, everything is valid, I can prove to you, and you don't need to do all the extra calculations to make sure that everything is actually true. So
get ready. You are about to join the crypto revolution. This is the Crypto Mastery Podcast with Kevin Jones, where we talk about the future of money and elevate your knowledge in the space.
What's up, everyone? This is Kevin Jones, builder and educator in crypto, and this is the Crypto Mastery Podcast, where we talk about the crypto industry and elevate your knowledge in the space. This podcast is brought to you by SpeedRunEthereum. Test your skills and learn how to build decentralized applications on Ethereum at SpeedRunEthereum.com. Today, I will be speaking with Kuki from 3327. Kuki started as a Solidity developer 6 years ago, developing a smart contract mechanism for a decentralized protocol. Recently, he joined 3327, where he does research around different Web3 ecosystems and the technologies that developers use within them, with a goal to share that information with other members of the community. He's particularly interested in EVM-based architectures and ecosystems and their features. Recently, one of his growing interests has been on account abstraction. Really excited to hear about that. All right, let's get into this. Kuki, welcome to the podcast. I'm really excited for our conversation today. It's been a while. It's great to see you, and thank you so much for coming on.
hi, thanks for having me. It's great to see you too. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I think last time I saw you was at DevCon, right? I think we were at like either the DevCon party or the ETH Global party. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it was the DEF CON party. We saw each other in workshops or stuff on the floor.
That's right.
It was
Yep.
real
Did
nice.
you catch you probably
Yeah.
catched one of my workshops or yeah. That's awesome. Well, I'm really
Yes.
glad we were able to connect. So, for people that, don't know you, can you kind of give like your kind of introduction, and just tell me a little bit how you got into technology?
Yeah, so I'm a Solidity developer and also a researcher at 3327. Um, I got into like when I had a buddy in like around beginning of college and of high school that was really into crypto and day trading and stuff like that. So he like got me hooked onto a couple of things, but he was more invested in the economical side of things, and I started digging deep into like white papers at that time. I remember I had a huge like crush, let's say, on IOTA. I was really interested in the whole decentralized cyclic graph thing, and that's how it all started. I was really digging into white papers, and then I found an internship purely by chance, where I started working on Solidity development. And from there, it worked. I worked my way, and then I got invited to join 3327 to start researching. And now I'm mostly just reading and reporting on different technologies more than developing, but it's still super exciting.
Yeah, I'm really excited
Yeah.
to dive more into 3327 because I think it's just what you guys are doing is really cool. So where are you based out of? Where'd you grow up?
Yeah, I'm based from Belgrade in Serbia. Born and raised. I've been here all my life, so it's been pretty good. It's really nice to see that the tech community here is thriving, and we have a couple of really good startups especially in the Web3 space, that have grown and developed, and it's really nice to see the community here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I definitely need to come visit you in Serbia sometime. I've always wanted to go there, so I heard it's a beautiful country. Um, so,
Yeah,
going back
definitely.
to a little bit about kind of how you got into crypto, when you first kind of saw it, I mean, you probably started out investing like most of us, but like, what was really exciting? You kind of mentioned like the concept of decentralization. Was there anything else that like really kind of stood out with you on kind of why crypto was kind of the future and you kind of leaned into it?
Yeah, I think like the whole thing that decoupling that moment from money from government, having money that's actually owned by the people, was the biggest factor that I believed and that I still believe that crypto is here to stay and that it's gonna take off. And then just because like I do believe that people want something that they own, and like we've seen how governments want to enforce more and more control. And I thought that this was a really big way for people to take back their the control. Like um, I see it similar to the fight for privacy recently, like people, public surveillance and stuff like that, and digital privacy, of course. And people should educate themselves more on that and how to stay private. So this is just one aspect of it, of how you can um, regain like your freedoms that you should be giving while governments are trying to enforce their control more and more. So that's my biggest like interest of crypto.
Yeah, and I think also like, just the inclusion that you can get with crypto pretty much out of the box, because it is this kind of decentralized network and anyone with a wallet, can interact with the protocol. It really gives access to people to be their own bank, right? And it's kind of unprecedented that we have these digital ways of like creating currency that is resilient and secure and yeah, so I think that's a huge part of kind of why crypto has been so successful, and I think it'll continue to be that way. It's just because it's backed by this whole decentralized protocol and the smart contract mechanisms and Ethereum virtual machine and all the good stuff that keeps the network running in a secure way is great. I want to dive a little bit into
Yeah.
your interest in account abstraction and why that has been kind of a focus.
Yes.
Yeah, what I mean,
Yeah.
I also feel the same way. I feel that there's a little bit of a barrier to entry for people in crypto. So, like, explain to people listening in, like, what you mean by account abstraction and like what why you
Yeah.
think it's so important.
So recently there's been more and more talk about developing abstracted accounts, which are smart contracts that can initialize transactions as opposed to only wallets being able to initialize transactions. That's my simplest explanation of it. And what that gives people is the option to have more functionalities built into their wallets, um, or in this case accounts. So why that I think we all everybody why is everybody excited about that? I think it's just because it enables a lot of user experience features that we want to see that will enable a lot more people to get into crypto, such as like simple saving of passwords or like having it both secure and easy to use. Because I think right now with the private key and the passphrases and don't lose it or everything is gone forever is very risky and very difficult to manage for like average users. So this is a way to have both have the security and the ease of use, and that's really interesting. So
Yeah, I agree. And I believe there's some protocols that are kind of doing it now. Like one of those is Lens. I know that you can kind of enable kind of some level of account abstraction for like posting, collecting, and doing things on the Lens protocol. Are there any other like implementations that you've seen, or is it still kind of too early for those kind of ideas to be take form?
yeah, I had the like I had the opportunity to join a hackathon on abstracted accounts on ZK Sync, actually. That was actually loads of fun. My colleague and I worked on some plugins for exactly the that functionalities that abstracted accounts can have. So you can actually pick and choose which functionalities you want your account to have, and that was really exciting. So I finally got to get my hands on that and to actually work with the technology and see what it can do, and it was really exciting. But it's also visible that it's pretty new. Like, there's not a lot of tooling for it. There's a lot of restrictions on what you can do, and we hit roadblocks like every other day. Something wouldn't work because it's too early and it's not well documented. But when we got it to work, man, it was really exciting to see it work. So, yeah, Ziki Sync. I think also Starknet has abstracted accounts in some way. So yeah, those layer twos actually do have abstracted accounts implemented.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on, ZK Sync, Starknet. There's like a couple other ZK rollups that I can think of, but do you have like a favorite there? Because everyone's kind of like betting on like certain ones. Some people are trying to say like, oh, toy around with all of them. I haven't really been able to get a straight answer on which one's going to win, or do you think there's room for all of them to kind of succeed in the future?
I think it's too. I think still it's too early to call. I think there's a lot of good. I think everybody's still at the start, so we'll see who will end up the winner. But yeah, but overall, I think ZK rollups in general are definitely going to be the way to go forward for Ethereum. So whichever one wins out or gets the most usage, I'm pretty happy with that, honestly.
Yeah, and for like for people listening in that are kind of new to the concept of like ZKs, obviously there's a lot of like crazy mathematics that goes into like ZKs, but like from a high
Yeah.
level, like what are your kind of feelings on why ZKs are so important for like the future of for crypto in general?
Yeah, so zero-knowledge proofs used to be very useful for like proving you know some kind of information and not actually disclosing it. But I think with ZK rollups, we've proven that you can use that same mechanism to actually save up on loads of verification and data transfers. So I can just tell you, hey, I mined a block and these are there are some transactions in it and everything is fine. Or here's my transaction, everything is valid, I can prove to you, and you don't need to do all the extra calculations to make sure that everything is actually true. So saving up on computation on uh, something that on a system that it's all based in checking everything is definitely saving a lot of time and energy and uh, CPU cycles for everyone. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, and additionally, you have the privacy functionality that you get with that, right? Which is kind of just a natural win there. So yeah, I do think that ZKs in
Yeah.
general are going to continue to be very important in the future of crypto. So okay, I'm really excited to kind of start talking a little bit about 3327. So maybe
Yeah.
for users that don't know 3327, I was going to wear your shirt, by the way, that you gave me, but it's the logo's on the back and it wouldn't show up in the video. But tell me
Yeah.
about 3327. What is it, and why was it created?
Yeah, so 3227 is a research and development collective as a part of MVP Workshop, but we also bring in accept members from other walks of life. And our goal is just to work on cutting edge Web3 technologies and see what new things we can actually make there. And that's how it started. And so far it's been going pretty well.
Yeah, that's good. What's the backstory with the name? I'm just kind of interested. Like, how did they come up with the name 3327? Or can
Yeah.
you give any insight there?
Yeah, of course. So 3327 is actually the apartment number of Nikola Tesla in the New Yorker hotel where he spent his last years. Here in Serbia, we're all huge fans of him, of course, and especially developers and nerds and builders. So this was like a homage to him and a nod to him because we follow his teachings a lot here, and we wish to one day also we strive for his genius. We might not reach it, but we're definitely gonna shoot for it, and we're hoping for some inspiration if we give this respect to him. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. No, that's cool. I mean, having that ties to your cultural background, and it's cool that you guys did that homage to him, and that you're kind of using as inspiration, right? To grow the company and grow the movement, right? Um, that's
Yeah.
awesome. So, like, what kind of technologies like do you kind of interact with on a day-to-day basis? Are you doing, you mentioned obviously you're a solidity developer. Are you mainly working with like smart contracts, or what kind of work are you doing in terms of tech?
Yeah, so right now it can vary. It can vary between, usually for me personally, it varies between either working on smart contracts or just like looking into the VM or some new features of the VM. But I also use, but I also work on various technologies just to like research them to see how they're working. I had a really nice opportunity to look into Avalanche and how it works. And aside from that, my job is mostly to collect information from other developers to see what technologies do they interact with, what do they think that works for them or doesn't, and to see how the landscape of technologies is changing for developers that are working on bigger projects than I do on in small research projects.
Yeah, so it sounds to me like you're pretty tied to like the developer community in that sense, because you're trying to figure out like what's working for people. What are some of the things you look at like when you find a new tool or a new protocol? Are there like kind of some like gotchas that you like? Hey, this needs to have X, Y, Z, or is it kind of just different for every kind of protocol?
Yeah, I think one big, let's say, gotcha would be usually like testing and documentation. That those are the two things that I think are make or break a project. Like you can have the best documented technology, but if people can't use it for testing, that they can't test it or they can't validate that it's functioning properly, that's a big issue, especially for more serious projects. And the second one, you can have the best technology, but if I don't know how to use it and you don't tell me how to use it, then I think that drives down the adoption, and then you're shooting yourself in the foot like massively if yeah, you don't have good documentation or like some kind of guide or explanation, or at least like a community. I think people projects that do have like a Discord or somewhere where you can interact with people and ask them, or just interact with other users of that technology, and that's a big resource for them. So yeah, that's a very big thing that projects need to have.
Yeah, I think documentation like should always be like every engineer, that should be the first thing that they have to focus on is like read this old documentation and figure out like why was this bad? Why did we not do the right documentation,
Yeah.
so that in the future, right, you're writing good readmes and creating tutorials or whatever it is that you're trying to like help onboard those users. I know, like, I'm
Yeah.
highly involved in like the scaffold ETH community, and like that's one thing that like Austin and the rest of the Build Guild team is like try to focus on is like the user experience as they go through and learn how to use scaffold ETH. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. Um, so given you've probably seen probably a lot of cool projects over the last
Mhm.
few years. What have you seen recently that's cool? Is there anything that you're like super excited about for coming out in this year, or it's recently been released?
Yes, definitely. Like Polygon ID has been one very interesting thing to see. Like verifiable credentials and decentralized identifiers were have been a long time coming. I know I remember reading about them like maybe 3 years ago and like trying to figure out how they could work in our project. And now seeing them implemented on such a big project was really exciting to see. So I think that's a big thing that's gonna take off. Um, not to like shill for Polygon, but another one is Polygon zk EVM. Like having a zero knowledge EVM was also a big breakthrough for the space. I was really excited for that. Yeah, and I'm really excited to see what Argent Wallet is going to do with account abstraction. I think they're really working on that like really heavily. So I'm really excited there. What's going to happen?
Yeah, those are all really quite interesting
Yeah.
projects. And Polygon's doing great. And for any listeners that have tuned in, make sure you subscribe to this podcast because I will have Steph from Polygon as well. She's a developer advocate. She'll be on in coming episodes, so make sure you subscribe. Yeah, and I think you're right. Like some of this like identity stuff is really interesting because you're able to kind of do some like human ties to an identity on the blockchain, and so that can be really good in the future. I think for like trying to protect against like spam and bots and stuff like that. What other utility do you see coming that is really going to help, or that ID and Polygon ID and like some of these other like account verification tools are going to help with? Like what's so important about that?
I think a big thing that Web3 is trying to solve for right now is user experience. Having it having it easier for new like average users to onboard into Web3, to use it day to day, to actually interact with people and like use your wallet as easily as you use Venmo or some other like money lending app. I think that's going to be a big thing. So anything that right now, I think that anything that works with user experience or and making that end user experience smoother, I think that has a huge potential right now.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think the user experience is definitely one of the big things that needs to be fixed in the space. And a lot of the stuff you've kind of brought up really will aim to kind of to fix those holes, right? So
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about going back to like 3327. One of the I was reading on the website one of the dojo rules, which I'm really excited about. Dojo rules, that's a really cool concept.
Yeah.
Is do good, and I'm a big
Yes.
fan of like public goods and like trying to help support different communities. I'm involved in a lot of different communities, but like how does 3327 help support communities? Obviously you guys give a lot of cool research data, but like how do you support? Is there any other ways that you support? And like on top of that, like how can someone get involved to be a part of that do good that you guys provide?
Yes. So I think one of our biggest ways that we try to do good is to uh, give out that information about what developers are using and what they're not. And we do that through the Web3 technology radar. So that's our publicly available tool for assessing which technologies you might want to use for different ecosystems, we call them. Like those are networks basically. So Polygon, Ethereum, Solana, stuff like that. And so we tried to research what specific tools or languages or platforms developers in that ecosystems use, and then we try to gauge how useful it is. And so we we had that all that information for our company to see, okay, if we're launching a new project, which network we want to launch it on, which tools, which tech stack are we going to use. And we were like, okay, this is something that's super useful for us. And we were like, okay, let's do good and let's share this with other people. And now it's publicly available for everyone to use. We tried to give overview of different ecosystems, and also we try to find a way to compare ecosystems, even though like every ecosystem has its like unique factors, but we tried our best. And we also have those technologies, so we think that that's something that developers can really get a lot of value from, and help them choose the tech stack for them.
Yeah. That actually brings up another question. So, there's a lot of different chains out there. I tend to be leaning a little bit more towards Ethereum just because I kind of work with it a little bit more on a, solid basis. I'm still, very fond of like the concept of like Bitcoin for like, decentralized money. But what other like chains do you think have room in the future of crypto and blockchain applications? Or do you think, there might be a future where it's like, Ethereum is going to be like the de facto kind of solution?
Yeah, I'm kind of torn because I think over time, like Ethereum and also EVM based systems like Polygon or layer twos like ZK Sync, like we mentioned, I think those are gonna be the more dominant networks in the space. Like you, but I would like to see that that's not the case. Like I'm really interested in Cosmos, and seeing that way of having interconnected blockchains would be really nice. But I think we're heading for a more siloed approach where you're either on the EVM or or you're not existing. But yeah, my prediction is Ethereum is gonna end up the biggest one, just because most developers are now focused on it. So I don't see that. I think it's reached a critical mass that if anybody coming into Web3 asks, okay, what should I learn? Everybody's going to tell them, okay, you need to learn Solidity and just get started on Ethereum, because there is no point in anything else. So I think we've already reached a point where Ethereum is going to win out in the long run.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like when your friend asks you, like, "Hey, I want to learn a programming language." 90% of the time, you either tell them like Python or JavaScript, probably, right? Which are like the two
Yeah.
popular front end and back end languages, right? So I think with Solidity, it's just like it is the de facto one right now, and yeah, I think obviously Ethereum is performing probably the best of all the cryptocurrencies, so it's the most popular. But yeah, yeah, it's interesting, and it's hard to say. It's hard to predict the future, especially in crypto. You never know what's going to happen. But I do actually like
Yes,
this.
definitely.
Yeah, I do like this concept of like more decentralized networks that can like talk to each other, like more modular style, blockchain approach. What are your thoughts about that stuff, like the modular blockchains, like Fuel Labs and Celestia and stuff like that? Do you think those are? Is Cosmos also a modular blockchain?
Yeah, yeah, it's also interconnected, interconnected blockchains. Uh,
Yeah. So do you
Yeah,
think those
I
have room for the future?
yeah, I would love to see it. Like, I'm hoping all the way that I can see one day Ethereum being like, hey, we're now compatible with other blockchains, like in some like I don't know, Cosmos Bridge or something, and that day would be amazing, just to see that it can it's not cutting itself off from the rest, and just finding a way that separate blockchains can function together is might be utopian, but I would really like to see that it happens, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm really excited. In the coming weeks, I'm also going to be talking with Cami from Fuel Labs. I'm not sure if you've met Cami, but she's also a developer advocate for Fuel Labs, and we're going to dive more into modular blockchains and some of the stuff that they provide. So anyone listening that wants to learn more about that, be sure to check that out as well. Um, so, what what sectors do you think that crypto has the most chance of disrupting? At the beginning, we know we talked a little bit about like the economics aspect of it, and finance, right? I think it's already kind of disrupting finance a lot, right, with like DeFi.
Yeah.
Um, but is there any other like things that you think that crypto is going to help solve problems for? We had this whole like surge of like NFTs, and obviously NFTs are still kind of blowing up with functionality. But do you think there's any like kind of sector specifically that you're kind of looking out for blockchain that will kind of continue to or help disrupt?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest ones is, like I mentioned from the beginning, digital privacy is a big thing that I think people are taking more and more seriously. And one of the biggest, let's say, holes in that system are social networks. They're all used just to get all of your personal data and to use it to sell you ads or psychologically program you into a different person. So
Yeah.
honestly, I think social media is a big one that I would like to see Web3 like shake up. And of course, we've seen that with Lens Protocol, and uh, that's one of my big things that I'm looking out for are good social media tools coming out based on the Lens protocol. So that's definitely the biggest one so far.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Lens. Really excited to see what they're doing with like social graphs, and I just wrote like a kind of a challenge for Growick.com, which is going to help people kind of onboard into using Lens. So if you're a developer, be sure to check that out.
Nice.
There's also, yeah, so there's going to be a lot of cool stuff I think coming from Lens, and like you said, I think social media is a huge one. Excited to see what gets built. By the way, I'm also cryptomastery.lens, so make sure you follow me, Cookie.
Yes.
um,
I think
yeah,
mine
so
is polyptych. Yes. Dot
oh, okay.
lens.
All right, I'll keep an eye
Yeah.
out. Are you also on Orb by chance? Have you messed with Orb at all?
Uh, I think I am, but just cursory. Not. I'm not super deep. I don't check it that
Okay.
often.
Yeah, Orb is just kind of like the LinkedIn supposedly of Web3. I haven't been messing with it too much, but it's quite
Yeah.
interesting. So I know it's impossible to like tell what's going to happen with crypto, but where do you kind of see crypto going from here? Like, we're obviously in a bear market, and I'm not going to ask you about price, but like, where do you see the overall like technology going in the coming years? We talked a little bit about some ideas of what you think is going to be important, but how quickly do you think that we'll see some kind of movement in adoption and stuff like that?
That's a big question. Honestly, because it so goes up and down so quickly, I really can't tell. Um, Following like the news cycle last year, I think there were a couple of really big news about various bigger companies getting into Web3. I think uh, one that stuck in my mind is definitely Disney. That's using Polygon for some of their interactive experiences in Disney World across the world. So I think once those big names start actually outputting some Web3 projects, then we're really gonna see things take off. But honestly, more and more, let's say, well-established companies like Visa, Mastercard, Google are starting to take Web3 seriously. So I'm expecting that by this time end of the like this time next year, let's say, or by the end of the year, we're gonna see crypto as definitely something that people take a lot more seriously when all of those big names have adopted Web3 permanently.
Yeah. And do you worry about like regulation or any of that, FUD that causes the market to have issues?
Honestly, yes. I think that's of course gonna be the biggest, let's say, roadblock for Web3 this year and years to come, because regulation can shut down huge projects overnight. But I think like the technology is here to stay, so regulation it might slow it down, but I don't think it's stopping it anytime soon. So uh, it's gonna it's a problem, but I don't think that it's an insurmountable one. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would require some insane amount of coordination, right, to really stop what's happening in the space. Um, you've been in crypto
Yeah.
for a while. What advice would you give to someone that's listening in that wants to either work in crypto or just get more knowledge about it and get more involved?
I would probably say start like go to speedrun Ethereum, start working on those projects. But other than that, honestly, start working on your small projects, even if it's literally just like a simple voting mechanism, like tallying or something. Anything like that you can start with and put your fingers in, and just add one thing every, let's say, week or month, and soon enough you'll see that you're more capable than you think. I think people are super scared that they think that it's this huge obstacle, but honestly, um, I think it's super easy to get into crypto. It just takes some time, and then it just clicks, and you feel a lot more comfortable working on any Web3 project. Honestly.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I was listening to a podcast yesterday by Lex Friedman, and he interviewed Mr. Beast.
Mhm.
You know Mr. Beast, right? He's like the number
Yeah,
one
yeah,
YouTuber, right? He does these like crazy giveaways where he gives away like millions of dollars and houses, and and one of the things kind of stood out that he said is, if you want to succeed in making YouTube videos, make an improvement on every single video 100 times, right? So the first video, you put it out there, and the next one needs to be a little bit better audio. The next one needs to have a better thumbnail. The next one needs to have better video editing. The next one has to have a better script. And I think what you just said is very interesting. And if you equate it to, from a developer perspective, or even just from crypto, like just do something in crypto every day. Like if you just do something a little bit different, even if it's just going on Twitter and like reading a Twitter thread, or um, in getting involved in a protocol, right? Like staking some ETH on Lido, or taking a loan on Aave, right? Just like go out there and just
yeah.
get your hands dirty, right? And it's just like it's natural. That's how we evolve as humans, is we learn, and it's a constant learning process, right? Would you agree?
Yes, definitely. And that's the way I usually approach it.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. So, what do you do for fun? Like, do you have any like hobbies, or when you're not researching Web3 projects. Do you have anything you like to do for fun?
Yes, I'm really into like weird keywords. I make, I'm trying to build my own mechanical keyboard. Other than that, I cook a lot. That's especially now in the winter time. That's my biggest pastime. And I think tr- sport climbing, when I get the time to do it, that's a big passion of mine to go into a climbing gym and just chill out there until I can't feel my hands anymore.
Oh wow! So do you actually go climbing in nature as well usually, or is it just in the gym?
No, just in the gym for now. I'm hoping next by next summer I can feel more like comfortable enough to go into nature.
Yeah, yeah, it's a little sketchy climbing. I personally am afraid of heights. So when I was a kid, we used to go to there was like an old airport hangar or something, I don't remember, and they had converted it into a wall, right? And I could like barely make it past like 10 feet, and I'm like, I got to get out of here, I can't do it.
Yeah.
So that's impressive. And I think it's a cool thing to do, and it's really healthy, right? I was talking to someone the other day, like it's good to have some kind of like active thing that you do, like outside of, especially if you're in crypto, because you're on the phone on Twitter or you're on the computer writing, Solidity code or
Yeah.
so that's really cool that you do something like that. By the way, is it cold there in Serbia right now? I assume it's pretty
Right
cold,
now
huh?
we're having a pretty warm winter compared to what we're used to. Like it's around 10 degrees Celsius, but we're used to getting -10 by this time. So I'm enjoying that it's not that cold.
Oh wow, that sounds cold. I don't do well in the cold. I lived in Seattle for like a year, and it snows for like a month there. Not even like it doesn't really even like straight for a month, but like it gets cold, and I just don't do well in the cold.
Yeah,
um,
me neither.
I- I'm a California boy, born and raised. So um, yeah. So yeah, for the rest of the year, you got some events planned? Is there anywhere that you like really are excited about going in terms of like crypto conferences this year?
No, I think I'm still waiting to see where DevCon is gonna be this year. Uh, but this year I think I'm gonna be more static, let's say. Uh, so I don't think I'm gonna be going to a lot of conferences. But so yeah,
Yeah, that's good though. I mean, it gives you some time to, get some work done, and I think you're right. It's going to be same thing for me. Uh, I have a new kid on the way, so he's going to be taking up a lot of my time.
yeah,
So
fair.
I, yeah, I can feel you there. And plus, it's nice to be home. Last year was
Mm.
pretty crazy for me, and I think you as well. You were probably at a lot of events. So awesome. Well, Kuki, where can people get more information about yourself, and where can they learn more about 3327?
Yeah, so I'm usually on Twitter a lot. I might not post a lot, but trust me, I'm lurking. So it's cookie_MVP. And also, you can see a lot more from our team at 3327_IO on Twitter. So there you can find other cool people from my team, and feel free to say hi.
Awesome. Yeah. And for anyone listening, I'll make sure that we leave those links in the description or in the show notes so you guys can easily click on those. Cookie, thank you so much again for coming on. It's really been awesome to talk with you. Like your insights are just like amazing to me because you're kind of, in the weeds with this stuff. So, and I'm sure all the listeners are really excited to get the information that you've been able to get them today. So thanks so much, man.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was really fun to talk about all of this.
Anytime. And anyone listening, be sure to subscribe and hope to catch you guys next time.